Okay, the time is 7:09. We're to call the meeting to order. I took them all through, took him to the police station, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go over the warrant articles. We'll read them, and we'll start with every one if somebody's got a question. And the first two, not to vote on, so we're going to start with number 3.
All right, number 3 is the operating budget, to see if the district will vote to the budget committee's recommended sum of $3,690,960. This article does not include appropriation contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners at the Board of Commissioners amount of $3,555,019.
Questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
So, we all know that the bulk of that increase is the absorption of the 4 safer grant positions. Thinking back to the public hearing where the then Board of Fire Commissioners, of which 2 still sit, were warned about that grant. Some people will say strings attached, I call it a noose around the necks of the taxpayers. And then you shouldn't take it because none of you would have the backbone to let them go when the safer grant ended. And here we are. The prediction was made that it would be strapped to the back of the taxpayers. The prediction came true. I've lost a lot of confidence in my Board of Commissioners over the years for reasons like this. We're more than happy to buy whatever's being sold. I mean BUY, not BY. The increase in this budget makes me want to puke. Because anyone who follows the economy and trends knows that the economy, I don't know how else to say it, so I'll apologize for I do, it's going to shift a bit. And people who are already in financial straits are going to find it even harder. We hand out money like candy to a homeless. We are the best, there's no arguing that. You cannot, I don't care where you go, we are the best. Forget the name of this program. We're the only ones north of Concord.
Safer?
No.
RSI.
Oh, the
RSI program.
RFI.
RSI, rapid sequential inhibition.
Only ones. We don't lack anything. Find equipment like we do. You can, but it's not in towns that have the limited resources that we do. I don't know how you just sit there, and I'm getting 3 stairs. One of them has some life in it. And you just, okay, I'm sorry, man, that's just how it is. People, I like having it, but I believe, and I've always believed, there's a better way to do it. $500,000 in 1 year. There's no give, no take, not, well, what about 2? No. At what point, and I don't believe you can answer this question, but I think it's a very valid question. At what point is enough enough? How do you tell people, look, because we all know, right? You don't pay your taxes, come 3 years, whoever's on the board of selectmen in the town, they're gonna sign. I don't, I think, and I've been in your position, I think $500,000 in 1 year is callous. Is that the right word? I expect that the annual meeting come March 16th, whatever it is, 2024.
18.
It's gonna be a long one. Because I'm sure with 16 people here from Northfield, I've never seen, you ever seen this many people on these things before?
No.
Doesn't that like smack you right in the face of reality? $500,000, 1 year. Biggest increase ever. And I assume Mr. Elder's correct that the fire district budget is going to surpass the town of Northfield budget. That ain't a big thing. That is not a big thing. That's-
Respond to me.
I do. So 3 years ago, when we had this budget, we didn't know, when you asked me that question, would I be willing to lay off or cut those positions? At that time, couldn't predict the future to see where our call volume goes or went. And that, Chief, I'm sorry, I don't know what it was 3 years ago, but it's gone up every year. And half of our calls are multiple calls or simultaneous calls at the same time, meaning that we're fortunate enough that if you're laying and helping, you're the second call, you're not waiting. I'm sorry, I think you had the heart attack earlier. You're not waiting 20 minutes for an ambulance to show up as it comes from another town, and it might get there in half the time because we have the ambulance staffed and ready to go. I have to sleep with that at night knowing that, you know, we're protecting the residents of the district as best as we can. It's a level of service. It's the same thing with the fire hydrants. Yeah, it sucks, but who do we tell, you know, you're close to 1,000 feet within a fire district, a fire hydrant, and we can put the fire out in your house a lot more and save you on money. It's a big decision. It's not a decision made lightly. It's made with a lot of thought and a lot of thinking. But 3 people on a shift is tough to do. And the Safer Grant showed that we need that 4th person. Yeah, the first time you get it, it's a sticker shock. It is. It's a sticker shock to me. It's a sticker shock to these guys. But it's not a decision made lightly. We have, you know, we're trying to provide a level of service. But when they have calls now, more calls going down to Concord Hospital that takes a 2-hour round trip, now you're going to have 1 person to respond to any other calls. The population isn't getting any younger in this town. There's more and more people coming up here. Whatever juice you're drinking, let us know. But you know, but it's not a decision made lightly. But it's everyone that we think of, the people that live in the furthest areas, you know, the people that live in the downtown district. How quickly can we get you help and save your life? That's what it comes down to. Providing a level of service. Yes, the first time, then You know, yeah, you know, do you lose your staff with all the intangible things that they have, the knowledge about the patients, and, you know, maybe you're the frequent flyer, and they're going out there, but they know that going out to your house, they know what to expect going to your house. Going into your house, they know that, you know, don't go on the third, you know, I'm being a little silly, but, you know, don't go step on the third stair because, you know, he didn't nail down the boards on the stairs, and you're gonna go through the doors, right? All these buildings around here, they train in these buildings, all that stuff they learn, it's all that, you know, some of it's on-duty training. I remember when I managed the Tilton Sports Center, we gave the center during the day sometimes for the fire department to come and train. You know, and watching them train, it was, you know, just to see what they did to train and how hard they worked and how serious they took it. I mean, I think about it, okay, they're putting a piece of wax paper in their mask to black out the building, and I'm like, oh, okay, if you open your eyes, you can, no, but they did it.
One's questioning the quality of it. Go ahead.
I think the one point that Eric touched on but didn't really go into specifics though, it's not the first call, it's the second call. And the second call when we would have to call for aid, and I'm sure the chief can give me the statistics, the second call used to be 20 some odd minutes, 21 and change or 20 and change, and it's down to 7.
7 minutes, yeah.
Right. So, you know, the first call we're able to respond to is that second call, that simultaneous call that comes in that we're able to get to. And I think that's one of the surprising items that Eric was alluding to. By having the extra officer, we're able to, you know, witness, demonstrate, and through statistics see the improvement in response times. And when they're medical calls, obviously, the faster you can get there, the benefit. And we're very fortunate because not only do we have the staff, we have the equipment, they're highly trained. There are other districts that Lakes Region Mutual Aid dispatches for, and they'll dispatch an ambulance call, and then they'll send out a second request, and then they'll notify another surrounding town. And 30 minutes later, the 911 caller calls back wondering if anybody's coming. You know, that happens. That happens within the area. So we have a great response time that, and you know, when you look at the dollar amount, that's what we're paying for. We're paying for response time and getting you highly trained, certified professionals that show up with all the equipment they need to assist.
I'm Mark Hubble out of Northfield. Just one first thing for Kevin. It's up $800,000, so it's about 300. That's over $750,000. It's their budget from last year. This year, $799,717 more. Secondly, Chief, you said you had just over 2,000 calls for service last year. What was it 3 years ago? He did ask me. You never.
Yeah,
I know you looked it up.
it was under 2,000.
It was just under 2,000.
So
Now it's just over 2,000.
22, in 2022 was 2243. This year was 2145.
100 calls for service in a year. It's not even one extra call a day. $800,000 for not even one extra call a day.
Oh, can I clarify something?
Go ahead.
So a call for service on the police side, I don't know exactly how they work. Our calls, what we're talking about today, are 911 incidents. They're not just calls for service. We have other inspections, we have other things we do, we have other trainings, we have other duties that we do throughout the day. What we're talking about now is called 911 incidents. So I just want to clarify that.
His statement was that the reason when Kevin asked him about putting on these extra 4 people and not wanting to get rid of them is because you had so many more calls for service. That's what he stated. The fact is, it's 100 more calls.
Well, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, so it's really not that many. It's less than one extra call a day. And now we want to jump it up $800,000 to retain these 4.
When I started in the fire department, I was hired as the 3rd person on. We used to have 2, and we were doing roughly 1,100 calls a year. And that was, we needed the 3rd person at 1,100. We've doubled our call volume since I've started, and this is the first time we've added additional staff. So we're really, when we said we needed 3 per shift, we're 1,000 calls more, busier than we were. So we can't use it from when we had the Safer Grant. That's when we realized we needed that 4th person. Right now, we're 1,000 calls higher than when we said we needed 3. So we're double.
Does anybody happen to, do you know Franklin's size? Do you happen to know Franklin's size? They have 2 ambulances, right?
Well, yes, they do all 2 ambulances.
Okay, because I know from experience from a few years ago, one of those was on a OD call, and the other one was somewhere. There was no ambulances in that city for that day, and they didn't actually call out to anywhere else. But you would normally call out to, say, Samberton, would you, or Franklin, if you were down?
Just before we had this meeting, we had an accident out on 3A. We had to call Belmont, and then we got another fire alarm call. We had to go
For
back
extra ambulances?
all the same time, and then we had a medical over here at the credit union. So we had to use extra ambulances from out of town.
Okay, and but that's what you did beforehand too, right? I mean, that's what you've always done.
Beforehand, we were only able to do 1 ambulance. Now we can do 2 ambulances.
Right, but what happens when you get 3 calls?
Still have to call outside.
Then, you're right, that's that was all my
But 50% of our call volume is double calls. 50% of the time we have a call, we have another one. In 2020, we transported 844 patients to the hospital. In 2022, we transported 1,148. That's a huge difference.
What was the first number? I'm sorry.
844.
So, less than 200? In a year? That's a year?
2 years. So it's going up like 100 a year.
The point is,
I don't know
if you can
continue
work
to
it
do that.
with 2 ambulances, I mean, great, but $800,000 is what it's going to, well, we do know that part of that is the fire hydrants, but the rest of it, I think that maybe that's where Kevin was at, the $500,000 to hold on to. A second ambulance, is that, but that's not accurate because you're doing a pay raise across the board to all of your firefighters. So it's not just to hold on to the second ambulance. And do anybody know what that percentage is of a pay increase for the firefighters for this year? Would be if this was passed? 4% increase, 10%?
9 point something, isn't it?
A 9% increase, that's huge. I mean, we've done it in Northfield, we went up 3%, then we had to do a big jump at one point, but, 9% and.
So
Could I say something about percent, Morris Boudreaux? I mean, so if the pay goes from $21 to $25 an hour, that's $4 increase. That's 19% increase. If that's the pay scale you're talking about, because I don't have the numbers, right? Are those the right numbers?
I think it's close to 18. I'm trying to run it in my head right now.
It would be 19.
Or
If it was 21 to 25, it would be 19%.
So it's 21 and change to 25 is, yeah, somewhere in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you. My point, that's a huge increase.
What were you starting police officers at before you raised it?
$16.67 an hour.
What are they starting now?
I think they're around 22.
Guilford's at 34, I think.
That was the South. Where everything's more expensive up here.
Any other questions?
I have a question, just a curiosity question. So the Board of Commissioners recommended about $136,000 less than the Budget Committee. Was there one place that you reduced that money out of, or in multiple places?
So when we went through the budget of, looking at the chief's budget, he was proposing it was about a 10% increase in the wage scale. And we voted that in, wasn't unanimous, and we gave that to the budget committee, and then when they looked at the pay scale, the conversation was, well, you're trying to bring them closer to the median, but all these other towns are raising their rates, so you're going to have this exercise again next year. And then they added additional money above what the commissioners did, and so we left the line item there that, to show you that $135,000 or whatever is difference. That's the difference in what we put in the budget for pay increases and what the budget committee.
Okay, just curiosity.
Okay.
So, if I understood you correctly, Helen Sharpenberg, if I understood you correctly, then Budget Committee has put in the budget an increase for this year that is going to also impact next year. So we shouldn't see any increases next year.
Oh, I'm not saying that at all.
Well, that's what I heard.
No, what I'm saying is, we looked at this increase and went with what the chief recommended. And then the budget committee looked at that and said, well, that's not adequate. And so they made the line item.
Okay, you did say that's not adequate, it won't hold until next year, so you'll have to come back again. And so I took that to mean that next year, now that they've raised it higher, that we're not going to see an increase next year.
No, I think that the hope was that by going with a little bit higher with all the other surrounding, no, not all the other, with other surrounding fire districts raising their pay, that next year we would hopefully still be in that median area, given the increase the budget committee's office. Or recommend.
Anybody else? Move on.
All right, you ready to move on then? Article number 4, equipment and apparatus. See if the district will vote to raise and appropriate $252,846 for the purpose of purchasing fire rescue, EMS equipment, and ambulance charges, with said funds to be withdrawn from the apparatus and equipment replacement special reserve, a revenue fund established under RSA 3195-C. Funds appropriated from this fund do not affect the tax rate. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners. And then $225,559 is recommended by the Board Budget Committee.
What's the difference?
The difference is the radio tower project that they took out of the budget. It's
So the commissioners and the chief are on the same page with the 559. I mean, I'm sorry, let me back up. 252.
yeah, 252.
And the budget committee took the communication equipment out.
Yeah, right. So if you look on the budget, you'll see all the items that are included in that $250,000 on page.
This line goes up every year.
Well, it goes up a lot this year because we've added in the maintenance and certification for the equipment.
That was approved last year,
That was approved last
so
year.
it takes effect this year.
Yeah.
That's right. Is this 252, does that include any equipment for the ambulance and medical fund?
It does not. Right? No, this is all for the current equipment, maintenance and repairs. That's a good question.
Any other questions?
All right, Article 6, no, Article 5, sorry. See if the district will vote and appropriate the sum of $559,520 for purchasing a new ambulance with equipment, with said funds to be withdrawn from the apparatus and equipment special revenue fund established under RSA 31-95-C. Funds appropriated from this fund do not affect the tax rate. Article is recommended by both the commissioners and the budget.
This will in fact add one vehicle to our fleet.
No,
What happened to that area?
we're taking one away as well. The rescue is going away.
All right, then, let me rephrase. This will add an ambulance to our fleet, so we will in fact have 3 ambulances if this passes.
So can I respond?
Go ahead.
So this will be the replacement for the 10-year-old ambulance. But the chief is going to propose keeping the old ambulance instead of trading it in. And that's a separate,
Okay, so the last ambulance was what? 285?
Something in that ballpark area.
Why is this room being replaced?
So, cost of ambulances have gone up tremendously, to almost $400,000 for a new ambulance, for the same, exactly the same ambulance, other than it's a newer chassis. Same chassis and everything like that, went with a gasoline engine instead of a diesel engine, but you have to order them 2.5 years out, and when they give you the price for this, they price it out, how far it is. Additionally, to license that ambulance in the state of New Hampshire, it can't be empty, it has to be equipped, and so the additional funds of 100, it's in the budget line item of what the equipment cost to equip it is in there as well. 160,000, 50,000, something.
The empty ambulance, which is a Ford ambulance chassis with an ambulance body on it, is 400,000.
Yes. It's 405,000, I think.
Okay, but just round up, I'm not
I'm
gonna,
trying to think of the exact.
I'm only gonna grill you a little bit because this is not, I mean, it's not, we don't need to be the penny as far as I'm
Okay,
concerned.
400, yeah.
So, in the last week, I've spent some time doing guess what? Looking for ambulances that are in production and available now. And there is more than one. Is it type 2 or 3?
We have a type 1.
Type 1. So there is or is not. Oh, it's an F-Series chassis.
F550.
F550, yeah, okay. F550 four-wheel drive, 7.3 gas, which I understand you've signed on to now.
Yes.
Thank you. For brand new in production, available March something, it said, for $290,000.
It's not the same ambulance,
Not the same end.
not even close, because the layout of our ambulances is specially designed to work with how we work here. Where you sit in in a stock ambulance, where you sit is generally like behind the patient. We sit beside the patient so the patient can see us. So our equipment is, the cabinets and the seating are all rearranged in our ambulances so we can get better care than a stock ambulance.
I can speak a little bit. So a lot of those ambulances that you see in the stock ambulances are transfer ambulances. Transfer ambulances, you're going to have a stable patient that has already been taken care of by a hospital, and all the primary care has been done. Their IVs, their vent tubes, their chest tubes, all that stuff's been done by the hospital. They still need an emergency transfer from one hospital, like Franklin would send them down to Concord or Fort Smith, or typically those lower cost ambulances, those type ambulances. We run a 911 ambulance, so I'm going to need, like today, just right before, that's why I was late today, we had a severe car accident down here. I had 4 people in the back of my ambulance, all working on different portions of the body of the patient. You can't do that in a transfer ambulance. So that's the difference between a 911 ambulance and a transfer ambulance, and a lot of the cost is that bigger cab with those more work room and more specialty room to be able to get 3 or 4 guys in there working on a patient.
Anything else? Let's move on.
all right, so Article 6, purchase a new pickup truck with a plow to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $79,950 for the purchase of purchasing a 3/4-ton 4x4 pickup truck with a plow, with said funds to be withdrawn from the equipment and apparatus special revenue fund established under RSA 31:95-C. Funds appropriated from this fund do not affect the tax rate. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and Budget.
So, are you replacing an existing pickup with plus, or what are you doing with the old?
Gonna sell it.
How much do you think you'll get for
I don't know, I haven't,
it? 10,000, 5,000?
I don't know, I haven't priced it out like on Kelly Blue Book or anything like that, but it's a 2005. It's been plowing for, 14 years now. It's pretty well rusted.
Not much.
So, what is your expectation, or not expectation, what specifically is this vehicle going to be?
It's a Ford F-250, a 7.3 liter gas engine, 4x4, single cab, 8-foot bed, with a plow, a V-plow on it,
A V-plow?
V-plow.
What size V-plow?
8-foot?
8.5?
Maybe.
Is it a Fisher? It's 8.5
It's a
or
Fisher.
9.5?
It's a Fisher.
So, it's a nothing fancy pickup.
That's right.
Where's the 80 grand come from? I just priced an XLT Julie last week, extended cab, for 63,000.
So it's,
That's retail, by the way, we don't pay retail.
we get our off a bid process. It's the pickup truck, it's the upfit for all the emergency lighting and consoles and the radios, all that stuff is included, the plow is included, the graphics, all that stuff, it's all included, and it's all state bid price.
And again, at 80 grand.
Yes, round numbers, yes.
Seems like a lot of money for a regular cab.
That 350 was more.
What help us to anybody? Jason, how much did Northfield pay for the F-350
I was trying to remember.
with an 8.5 foot plow? Was it 50 grand, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was like 57 or something like that.
So, do you three take what you're told that that's gonna be $80,000 and accept that? Do you confirm it? What do you do with it? Anything? Nothing? Nothing, Bruce?
I can't speak for the others on the committee, but in this particular case, I just took the number that the chief had provided us based on his research into getting the bid pricing.
Does a 2500 Chevrolet, how's that?
Not quite that much, but it's not radioed, lit up, or graphic. I don't know what those costs are.
It's pretty significant. If in fact this truck is going to cost $90,000, and it is in fact a regular cab with a gas engine, 79,950 is right.
80,000.
Sorry.
You're rounding up to 90.
Well, I was trying to buy it an hour for Christ's sake. Leave me alone.
So it comes off a state bid, it goes out, the state puts out the bids, and they all come in. Whoever's the lowest bid for that vehicle gets awarded the contract to supply that vehicle to the state.
Do you know what the outfit cost is for the radio, the light bar, whatever else?
I don't know if I have that information with me tonight.
It can't be a bunch of money.
It is a bunch of money. It is a bunch, but I don't have the numbers in front of me for that. I didn't know we were discussing the specifics of it, just the merit of it.
We can get that.
I mean, it doesn't have the
I'll send you.
outfit expense that a police cruiser has, right? It doesn't have the outfit expense that your command vehicle has.
Yes, it does. Well, not quite, not quite. It still has to have a console with the radios, the lighting package, which is emergency lighting package, not like a plow package. It has has to have the graphics that, to keep, reflective graphics that, we don't go crazy on all that stuff. The only thing that's kind of crazy is the back end, it has the chevron on it, but that's NFPA required for safety purposes, and I put it on there anyways. Whether it was or wasn't required because of the safety program, because all you have to do is go out in 93 and see I'll go down to Rusty, see how many smashed up cars just on the side of the highway. Get them smashed, and try and prevent some of that stuff.
All right, move on.
Yep.
All right, Article 7, building, land and building fund. This article is to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be added to the land and building capital reserve fund previously established, and to make the Board of Fire Commissioners agents of the fund. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and the Budget Committee.
Okay, so I have two questions. First question is, this means this is taxable? This will hit the tax rate, is that correct? Okay, second question is, how much is in the fund already? Just didn't ask.
I don't know the exact number, around 800,000 maybe.
And how much do you need to make a decision about land and buildings? I mean, that's not very
Well,
much money.
there's a committee in place that is looking at fire station options that,
No, I
nothing's
understand that.
nothing's been decided on that.
If you're going to keep adding money to a fund, and every year at $100,000, you're going to be waiting for a long time to get up to the 10 or 20
So, yeah, so what the money is to do is so that when you do build a building, no matter how much it costs, you won't have to bond that first 800 or 900 or $1 million, whatever's been put away. You only have to bond the balance of the building, so.
So you know for sure we're going to build a new building?
I don't know that for anything.
And I'm not talking, so I'm not personalizing it to you, but it has to be a known fact, otherwise why would you put it?
I know for a fact we need a new building, but we haven't been able to come to terms of what the district will decide what to build. And Kevin's on that committee, and he can tell you that it goes round and round and round and round.
Yes, I've been to one of these sessions. Okay, thank you.
You want to speak on it, Kevin?
Why is this, I don't know if this is fact or not, but I think originally, way back when, this might have been my idea. I
think you're right.
I like to save money, I don't borrow.
I think you're right.
But at times, we took it from unreserved fund. It just isn't planned.
Well, last year, it was 100,000 change. It's really not enough room to move there. And if we're going to bond something, you have to have a certain amount of unreserved fund balance to get a good interest rate. And we're not there yet.
No, you're 100% right, I agree with that. But there's no good interest rate to get.
Yeah, I missed the boat a little bit.
You got a question, Jason?
No, I was going to say there was one year where we did take some building or architectural or engineering money from the unassigned fund balance because it was raised and appropriated the year before through taxes, and it wasn't spent and it was lapsed because nobody did anything with it. So it wasn't set up as a non-lapsing. It went in. Nothing happened that year. It went into the unassigned fund balance. So the commissioners at that following year said, "Oh, we're going to raise and appropriate it again." So we're going to raise and appropriate, $100,000 twice. So we put the brakes on that and didn't raise and appropriate it the second time. We went and took out the money that was lapsed, put it back in, and then created, with the stipulation that it was not lapsing. But I don't think we've done land and building money every year out of the unassigned fund balance. I think we did it in recent years to rescue money that was raised and appropriate. I just didn't want to pay this tax bill twice on something we're going to get one of. So. And a lot of folks agree, I think.
Okay, let's move on.
Article 8, fire prevention. To see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,627 for the purpose of adding to the existing fire prevention expendable trust fund with said funds to be withdrawn from the unassigned fund balance. Funds appropriated by this fund do not affect the tax rate. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and the Budget Committee.
Any questions?
Well, the comment, though, the money that's in this account is money that's generated through inspections, and I'm sure Sean could give us a whole list of things that go into that account. This is just taking it out of the unreserved fund balance and moving it into the fire prevention fund, and you'll see the next article relates to then moving that money. So it's sort of a accounting housekeeping thing, is that how you might look at it, Jason?
Every year.
Okay.
So Article 9, fire prevention budget, to vote to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,709 for the purpose of purchasing materials, tools, and equipment related to public education, code enforcement, training, etc., with said funds to be withdrawn from the fire prevention expendable trust fund. Funds appropriated from this fund do not affect the tax rate. The article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and the Budget Committee.
Is there something procedurally that requires those two warrant articles?
Yes. So the first article is the money we collect this year. The second article is money that we're going to spend next year in the budget for the purposes that stated.
Right, but what is it procedure that requires it to be a warrant article?
Because
That could
because
be
it's
just put
the
in
way the
budget.
trust fund, the way it was worded when it was created.
I see what you're saying. So technically, the money could just go into the end-of-year fund balance, lowering the tax burden, and then we could just,
If you wanted to make it a
Just raise
revolving
taxes.
fund, you could do that. Where money comes in and money goes out, and the commissioners are the agents of that revolving
Why don't
fund.
you show revenue from, I'll say inspections, et cetera, and then if you show an expense, then you have offsetting revenue? Why does that require a warrant article?
Because
It's an expendable trust fund,
It's
and
an
you cannot put money into it. You can't take the money out of the unassigned fund balance and put it into the expendable trust fund without a warrant article and the vote of the residents of the district. And you can't take money out of the expendable trust fund to use for the budget without a vote of the district, the way the warrant articles were written originally.
DRA.
Yeah.
Same issue with Article 10, right?
Similar.
Is there pain in the ass warrant article, obviously? It's like you take money out of your left pocket, put it in your right.
You can tonight.
Let's move on.
all right. Article 10, health insurance deductible, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,500 for the purpose of adding to the existing health insurance deductible expendable trust fund with said funds to be withdrawn from the unassigned fund balance. Funds from this fund do not affect the tax rate. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and the Budget Committee.
Questions? Move on.
Moving on from our left pocket to our right pocket. Communication tower, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $23,876 for the purpose of adding to the existing communication tower expendable trust fund as established by warrant article 11 at the 2021 district meeting, with said funds to be withdrawn from the unassigned fund balance. Funds appropriated from this fund do not affect the tax rate. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and the Budget Committee.
That's a question. So, on Article 4, the Budget Committee lowered it for radio tower taken out of the budget. Is that right, like radios?
Some, yes.
Okay. Wasn't, when we created the cell tower trust fund, wasn't that for equipment?
Yes,
So can we get the radio stuff out of that fund?
you could have, but we didn't have the amount of money in there that the equipment would have cost at the time, because we just started collecting revenue. If we were to do it next year, yes, we would have money in there to do that. But the commission is also, because it's more than just for radio equipment, it's also for, could be used for repairs to buildings or something like that as well. I think there's a few different things that the warrant article allows. And also 50% of the revenue that comes from the tower goes to offset the tax rate in the following year as well. So not, say for every dollar we get, 50 cents goes in the bank, and the other 50 cents goes to offset the tax rate in the following year.
Okay.
But you have to have warrant articles.
I can't remember how much was in that tower trust fund. I know I keep track of it, but I can't remember what's in there, so,
It's not a lot right now.
yeah. Okay.
Moving on. Article 12, to establish a contingency fund to vote, to see if the district will vote to establish a contingency fund for RSA 31:98-A to raise and appropriate $30,127 to be put in the fund, with sum to come from the unassigned fund balance. Any appropriation left in the fund at the end of the year will lapse into the general fund. Funds appropriated from this fund do not affect the tax rate. This article is recommended by the Board of Commissioners and is recommended by the Budget.
Didn't we try this last year?
It's been on the,
We try it every year.
Every year.
And some years it's successful and some years it's not.
You guys going for a regular meeting?
Yes, yes we are.
Okay, that does it for the warrant articles.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
We're in the hearing.
I don't have to say that.